Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And today I wanted to talk to you about Middle Eastern fragrances. So fragrances from Dubai, Egypt, Turkey, and so on. So we do know a lot of fragrances, Oman as well. So a lot of brands from that part of the world. And so even before I started going to Exans in Milan and Pitti Fragranze in Florence, I did test Middle Eastern fragrances. They're not readily available where I live, so I kind of have to test them where I am, like when I'm traveling. So not having a source of testers, it's a bit difficult, so I'm kind of late to the game. So but for me there's like three types of Middle Eastern fragrances. Type number one is the one that I don't really like. So for me, for how I am, my ethical uh, world, this is not a fragrance that I would buy myself, and this is not a fragrance that I would recommend. So well, I think I have to name a fragrance. So there's the brand, and I'm not throwing any shade to the brand because the brand knows what they do, and people that buy this brand, they all know what the brand does. So it's not a secret that Jenny Glow, and this is from United Arab Emirates, this brand. Jenny Glow is kind of copying Jo Malone fragrances. So much so, their names are very, very similar to the Jo Malone's one. And I was particularly interested because so many people wrote me, like, it's silly of you to spend so much money on my beloved fragrance from Jo Malone, English Parent Frisia. I do adore this fragrance. This is such an amazing fragrance, and so many of people they just wrote me, just go ahead, get yourself Jenny Glow, and at a fraction of the price, like maybe 10 years maximum. And there's a fragrance that is called Frisia and Pear, and like, hence this is the dupe for English Parent Frisia. And what can I tell you? It's not a dupe. It's not even close, in my opinion, because I do love and I do use and I adore English Parent Frisia and every facet of this fragrance. And Jenny Glow, it's a very, very poor copy of it. So this is the thing that I do not support. I really don't. I can't stand this kind of practices. I don't like when there's a brand that kind of sitting there and waiting until another brand does all the research, development, and all the hard work, and then they release the fragrance, and the fragrance becomes so popular, then they just go and just bluntly copy the fragrance. And not only that, but they also put a name of the on the bottle, so you can kind of understand that this is a dupe for that fragrance. And this is the practice that I do not support. And having said that, I can also say, like, based on my experiences, I have tried many fragrances that were told to be dupes for the fragrances I know, I have, and I love, and there was none. There was no fragrance among all of them that I have tried that I could definitely and very confidently say that, well, this is a dupe and this is worth buying. I just can't say that. So there's another group of Middle Eastern fragrances that they are kind of inspired by the fragrances that come out, and they become viral, they become very popular, and they make their own interpretation of a fragrance. And these fragrances They are good if, for instance, you have tried a viral fragrance that everybody seems to like, and you try this fragrance and you just can't understand why the heck everyone loves this fragrance, then this might be an option for you. Or you wait for like a flanker that will most definitely come out next year, or then you go to the Middle Eastern fragrances that make the fragrances, but they're not dupes. I would say that they're like alternatives. They might even have kind of the same or like same each DNA, but there's some faces to this fragrance that are completely different. So they are not like just copying the formula, copying the fragrance and putting the name on the bottle. And this is the practice that, I mean, come on, everybody does it. Like Zara does it as well. So I mean, I'm not against it, because we do see this happening every single time in cosmetics industry as well, and nobody is against it, because like a super cool new foundation cake comes out that costs like 60 euros, and then a couple of months later the brands that are like they cost fraction of the price, they launch their foundation that kind of similar. So it's okay, and for me it is also okay, because I mean, so there's so many fragrances uh that are like in the same like luxury designer range, and they kind of similar, they're not copying each other. It's just that they're similar because this is a note that is very popular at this moment, or there's the accord that's very popular at the moment, and so many brands they try to kind of come up with their own. And obviously things can happen that this fragrance is quite similar to something that you have already smelled before. So, and I'm not against this practice. But I have to tell you that if there's the brand and there's the fragrance that I like for instance, I know there's so many dupes for like alternatives, the Middle Eastern alternatives for Kilian, like I don't know, angel share. Let's take angel share. So many of them. And if I do love angel share, that I would go out and buy the angel share. I might not have so much money to just go ahead and buy immediately the full size. Then I'm just gonna wait. I'm just gonna put the money aside, or I'm just gonna order, I mean, discovery kit, or I'm just gonna order a travel size. I will go for the original item. So the Middle Eastern fragrances, that kind of alternatives, they don't really bother me, because if you like the original thing, you will go ahead and get yourself an original thing. And there's the third group, and it's not always the case, but as per usual, these are much more expensive fragrances, and these are the fragrances that I'm gonna show you. A couple of fragrances that I genuinely love. I just love them. Let's start with this brand that is called Kajal, or Kajal. I do think it's Kajal, but don't quote me on that. So a sample of Kajal is a piece of art in itself. So this is a sample. This is the box for a sample. We do have here this kind of a little teeny tiny booklet. I probably switched the booklets because I do have two of them. Yeah, I do have two of this sample boxes. I have one which is Almaz, and then I do have a Dahab fragrance, and I do love both of them. So, and this is the little teeny tiny booklet. So yeah, it's the same. So at the time when I got the samples, this fragrance, the Kajal Almaz was the newest one. So it's probably that's why it's here in the booklet. So we do have the olfactive olfactive notes of each fragrance they have. So it smells divine, it smells very, very nice. And we do have such a nice and beautiful, like, little thing here. So we have this kind of flower. It's made of some kind of textile, I don't know. You just put it on your finger and you spray some fragrance on it, and then you just go ahead and you travel with this little teeny tiny ring, and it smells divine. So I do have two of them. I do have this beautiful emerald green and this beautiful red. So this is just a small touch. And so I do have two fragrances. I have this Dahab, I have Almaz, and I also have Lamar. And I used to have also Lamar original one, and this is Lamar Noir, which I also like. So this is kind of on the heavy side for me. So also I do have a scent, one fragrance. I don't have any other fragrances because it was the one that I particularly liked from this brand. So this is Attar Al Has, and this is it's a brand from Turkey. I'm sorry, my voice is abandoning me. So this is Attar Al Has, and this is exquisite, and this is such an exquisite, truly exquisite scent. It's such a beautiful scent. So I do have a sample of this scent as well. So it's beautiful, it's fantastic. And I do have a couple of other scents. Oh, it's so good, it's so good. And I do have a couple of other scents, which is by Armaf. So if you know the Middle Eastern fragrance world, Armaf is a brand. They do have kind of cheaper fragrances, but these ones, these two, well, there's not just these two, there's many others. These are the Armaf fragrances that are made in collaboration with Arturetto, Landi, and he is a perfumer. He's a very famous perfumer. In fact, he actually created some of my favorite fragrances back in the days. So these are the two fragrances that I have, and both of them are about a sea. So this one is Voglie di Mare, and then Acqua Tua. So we have these beautiful, beautiful fragrances, and this is all that I have. I don't have any other Middle Eastern fragrance in my collection. So I do have quite a lot of samples. I do tend to give out samples to my friends if I don't need them. I do have some sample discovery kits, but I do not have any other Middle Eastern fragrance. And this is what I just want to tell you about. Why I don't have? Because the majority of brands that I have tested, being a Middle Eastern fragrance brand and kind of carrying the Middle Eastern DNA, and especially the fragrance brands that like in the third group that cost a little bit more, they all have this imprint, they all have this DNA of Middle Eastern, and so it means that they have rose, they have quite a heavy oud, agar wood fragrance. They do have this nose that I typically do not like. Or maybe if there's the notes that I like they're very overly sweet. Like if they're fragrances with fruits, then these fruits are with honey, or maybe some kind of um, still some kind of rosy, jammy fragrances. They kind of laced with a little bit of oud, because this is the type of fragrance that people in the Middle East they love. And obviously these brands, if it's a Middle Eastern brand, obviously if it's a brand that is big, they wanna go out in the world and they wanna be sold, I don't know, in France, in Italy, in Germany. But the main market is in the Middle East. So they do their fragrances like the Middle Easterns love them. And it's that's how it should be, right? So it's not that these fragrances are not suited for me because I'm like, uh, it's because the notes they have, I don't really gravitate towards these notes. My ideal fragrance is something fresh. It might be something sweet, but it is fresh, zesty. Uh, it's like fruity, but not overly. So it's just most of the times, Middle Eastern fragrance is just not my scent profile. And if you say about Kajali, because Kajali is also, it's a brand from Dubai, but I don't really consider Kajali to be all that Middle Eastern. Obviously, they do have the Middle Eastern founder, but they don't feel like Middle Eastern fragrance. They don't have this typical Middle Eastern DNA. Yeah, they do have this all like around oud kind of line, but that's pretty much it. All the rest of the fragrances are very, very variable for like a typical person that lives, I don't know, somewhere in France and never even heard of the Middle Eastern fragrances. So so for me, I don't really mind Middle Eastern fragrances. In fact, there are some of them that I really love, but most often than not, I just don't vibe this with these fragrances because they're just not my scent profile. Out of all the fragrances that I have tested, like for instance, take I don't know, Pitti fragrance. Out of all the fragrances, Middle Eastern fragrances that I have tested, there were probably like 3 or 4 that I would be okay wearing because they didn't have rose, they didn't have oud. So for me, it's very, very difficult to find a scent profile that is suitable for my taste. And my taste is very simple. And it's very, very simple. And again, the two ingredients that are used the most in Middle East, the oud in rose, I don't love them. So that is why that's my take on the Middle Eastern fragrances. Again, if you are searching for a good Middle Eastern fragrance, you don't want a dupe, you don't want the alternative, take a look at the Kajal fragrances because they do have these beautiful fragrances. They have a lot of fragrances. The bottles, I'm not a huge fan of bottles. They are gorgeous. They're very beautiful. It's just that it's not my style. My style is very, very Nordic. It's very like linear and clean and, simple. So this is again, but it's obviously not a deal breaker. If I would love the fragrance, I would obviously like a bottle as well. So out of like 3 Kajals at the moment that I have, this is probably the one that I like the most, which is this Almaz by Kajal. And I'm just gonna very quickly read you the notes, and you will see that they're very unusual for the Middle Eastern fragrances. In my opinion, these are the fragrances that were created and catered for like more European kind of market. So we have blackcurrant and bergamot, raspberry, flower notes, heliotrope, musk, wood notes, vanilla, amber, and brown sugar. So there's nothing that screams Middle East in this fragrance, but still, this is beast mode fragrance, I can assure you. So yeah, if you want some bougie, if you want some very, very cool fragrance from the Middle East, just take a look at these ones. These are very, very good. Yeah, so let me tell you that obviously if you are, and if for you it's fine to use the fragrances that are kind of copying other fragrances, they're not alternatives, they're kind of dupes. You do you. If you like it, if it's fine for you, I'm not saying that you should not do it. If you do it, if you like it, go ahead. and do what you want, do what you please, obviously. And let me thank you for your attention, and please let me know what are the Middle Eastern fragrances that you like, what are the Middle Eastern fragrances that you gravitate towards, if any. uh, because just like certain types of food, like ethnic food, if you're accustomed to a certain type of food, it's kind of difficult for you to kind of switch to another type of food. The same is with the fragrances, because you're not born in this culture, you're not born with the smells and this oils, fragrant oils, and so it's kind of a big switch to come from one culture and then try to like the fragrances that you have not been born and you didn't grow up with. So yeah, just let me know, what do you like, what are the brands you like, what are the brands that you gravitate towards, and if you want, just leave in the comment what are the fragrances that you liked the most from the Middle Eastern fragrances. Yeah, thank you for your attention, and I wish you a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Bye.